Hello. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another live stream. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is David. I run an agency called UX Hacks. And on my free time, when I'm not helping clients, I escape here to the internet on YouTube to help you guys become better designers, better developers, and hopefully make more money from your website. So today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be learning how to actually go and build our own custom sections in Shopify 2.0. So if you guys aren't familiar with what the heck Shopify 2.0 is, it's pretty much the same as Shopify 1.0 with a few added improvements. One of which is the ability to add sections to every page. Now, if you guys have been working with Shopify for a while, you guys know that sections, really, you can only add them to the homepage, which is, or was, kind of annoying. Back then, it used to be that if you wanted to add something to the product page or to your cart, you usually had to go through a developer or go through an app. But now, with the addition of Sections Everywhere, you can now go and add Shopify sections to your product page, to your cart, to your checkout. Well, I'm not sure about that checkout part, but I'm pretty sure you can add it just about anywhere. And what we're going to be doing today is just learning how to go and build our own custom section and add it to a template. So let's see what we got in the chat. We got Willow Moon Art. Thank you for doing this. You are welcome, my friend. Jacob, he says, wanted to also say thanks for the last live stream video. It's been a huge help for me. The company I work for is looking to switch over to 2.0, so it's been a great resource. Jacob, I am so glad that stream helped you. I don't know why, but those are the streams that have been getting really, really popular on YouTube. So I'm really glad that you guys have been getting some value out of that stuff. All right, Gambo says, thanks. You're welcome, my friend. Well, let's jump right into my browser and let's get started. But first, let's roll the intro. Whoop. Some technical difficulties there. All right, guys. So right now I've got Shopify Partners pulled up in front of me. The reason that I am showing you guys this first is if for whatever reason you don't currently have a Shopify store that you can work on and follow along with, what I recommend you do is you just sign up to Shopify Partners, because these guys are going to give you a account where you can create a development store and you can actually go and start to work on your theme, edit your theme, customize your theme, and build your store without having to go and pay Shopify the $14 a month or however much it is. So you're going to be able to go and follow along with this tutorial without having to pull out your credit card, which I think is really, really important. Now, I've already logged in because I can never remember my password. So I already did it so that we wouldn't have to go through it. And we're working from a clean account. It's got nothing on there, right? So if you guys already have your store, you guys can probably skip this part. But I'm going to just go and create a new store. And I'm going to have it be a development store, which means that we can create as many of them as we want, just to test and work on. If you are creating this for a client, then you can go ahead and create it as a managed store. But for the most part, you're probably going to just create a development store. Now let's go ahead and give this store a name, and we'll call this Sections Everywhere. Oh, wow, someone's already done this. Let's try custom sections. Wow, people are all over this stuff. Go UX Hacks sections. Nobody's using that because it's trademarked. All right, so for password, we'll generate some random password. That's fine. I'm gonna take it into another screen actually and change a few things here so that the hackers watching this video don't come and cause any chaos for me later down the road. There we go. All right. We don't have to worry about this stuff. There we go. Let's move on. And now this is going and creating a blank store for us to use. Give it just a second. And while we're doing that, let's go ahead and pull up the documentation on building custom Shopify sections. So let's look up Shopify Sections. Pull up the sections documentation. We've got a tutorial here on how to build your own section that we'll look at. And one thing I wanted to talk about is what this skill or what this update actually replaces. So back in the day, it used to be that you needed to get something like Sections Pro or some sort of page builder that would actually allow you to go and add these sections to new pages, custom pages, cart, whatever. Now we don't have to pay for a page builder. Some people are calling this the page builder killer, and rightly so, because now we can actually just go and create our own sections, and it's actually easier than I think it's ever been, in my opinion. So we've got our blank store all set up. Let me go ahead and hide a couple things here. There we go. Now we're not going to go and add our first product or any of that stuff. What I want to do is go directly into customizing our theme. So let's go ahead and click on that. And let's see what theme is installed by default. Cool. Looks like new stores have by default the new Shopify Dawn theme. So this is the theme that comes along with Shopify 2.0, and it's what they're using as kind of a basis to build new 2.0 themes. So this is the theme that we want to work with. Now, there are two options on how you can actually work with your theme. You can actually work directly here in the browser by using their text-based editor in the browser. And you do that by clicking Actions and then Edit Code. And this will give you an editor that you can start working with right away. The other option is to use Shopify CLI, which it's okay. You know, a lot of people used to use ThemeKit. If you aren't familiar with ThemeKit or Shopify CLI, go check out one of our other Shopify live streams where we go deeply into ThemeKit and deeply into Shopify CLI. For this one, we're going to be kind of going through things a little bit quickly, just because we've already kind of covered it. But Shopify CLI will essentially allow you to preview and test changes using development themes. And it's not necessarily like a local environment, but it's an environment that is hosted that you have the ability to push and pull from very, very easily. And you can even deploy directly from that environment over to your live website. So it's pretty handy, but there are a few things that you need to do to just get this stuff installed. I believe you just have to get Shopify CLI installed right here. Install Shopify CLI. So if you haven't installed Shopify CLI, I do recommend that you use this method, because you're going to be able to use things like GitHub and version control and linters that you can actually download that it's going to help you check your code for quality. You can use theme check, which helps check your code for quality. And you can also use, if you're using something like Atom, or you're using something like VS Code to write your code, you can actually use autocomplete features that are specific to Shopify. So you don't have to write all the code every time. You can write, you know, part of the code and then it will finish it for you, which is really, really handy. So I believe I already have it installed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and open up my VS Code. So I'm going to open up just Visual Studio Code. This is what I use to develop locally. It's kind of up to you what you want to use. I think this is one of the best free ones that you can get out there. I've tried Atom, I've tried Sublime Text, but Visual Studio Code is just so widely supported. So from here, I'm going to go and open a new terminal. And I'm just going to really quickly run this command, Shopify version, to check to see if I have Shopify CLI installed. Okay, it says that there is a new version available. So I'm going to just update Shopify CLI really, really quickly. So let's see if I can run it through here. And we'll give that just a second. Let me move my big old head out of the way and go over to the other side so that you guys aren't getting cut off here. And if you guys have any questions while you guys are watching this, feel free to let me know in the chat. If anybody has any questions watching the replay later, let me know in the comments. I'll be active in the comments and I'll definitely make sure that I try to get your question answered if I can. So while that's installing, let's take a look at how to create our first Shopify theme section. So there are a few things here that are worth noting. The first is you no longer need to use a .liquid file to create a template. We now have the ability to use these .json files. And what's great about that is instead of having a bunch of HTML and CSS and JavaScript code all over your Shopify template, you can actually just have a JSON file that calls a lot of different sections in that template. And what's great about that is instead of having all of your code being loaded on this page template, you can actually just have code that is only loaded if a section is available on that page template. So let's look at how it looks now. So if you guys have been in Shopify recently, you might have seen that all Shopify stores, not just the ones that have the new Shopify 2.0 Dawn theme installed, but all of them now have this new editor on the back end where you have the ability to actually add sections. And what's really cool about this is on top of being able to add sections and create custom sections, you can actually have things inside the sections that you can update and rearrange. So it's actually, in my opinion, a lot more useful than the old way of building templates. Now, you can still go and build templates the way that you did before. It's really not a huge deal, but I think this JSON version gives us a lot of flexibility. So we're going to go back to this in a second. Now we're going to be writing our code. So let's see if Shopify CLI has finished. Looks like it is done installing. So I'm going to run Shopify version again. Now we're up to date, 2.6.6. Cool. So now what I need to do is we need to go and actually pull down our latest theme from our store. So let's go and authenticate, and we're going to go and try to log in. And what we need to log in is our store URL here. So I'm going to go to our store. I'm going to go back really quickly and I'm going to click on View My Store. This is going to give me a bunch of stuff at the end that we don't need. What we need is right here, our store URL. And we're going to use that to run this Shopify login command. So we're going to type Shopify login -- store, and we're going to paste our URL. Now it's asking me to go and actually log in. I'm going to do that. Authenticated successfully. I can now close the page. And if I go back, now we have our different stores. So I'm not entirely sure which ID it is. So I'm going to go back into my backend section. I'm going to just take a quick look. This is the part I always struggle with, guys. I'm not sure which ID it is here. Whoop. Find Shopify store ID. Let's see if where I can find this really quickly. If anybody knows in the chat how to find the store ID, let me know. I think I'm just going to go ahead and select one. I just wish I didn't give them all the same name. Kind of screwed myself there. Let me see if I can log out, log back in. And let's see if I can pull it from the selector that comes up. No, it just auto logged me in. Oh, here we go. We can go to stores now. I'm going to inspect this to see if the ID is in there by any chance. No, it doesn't look like it. Let's just go ahead. and click switch account. Nope, not there either. We're gonna figure this out, guys. Yeah, this is one of our older ones. I'm not sure what's going on here because now I can't get into the store view that I was looking at before. I don't know why Shopify always tests my patience. It says it's in the partners portal. I think you're right. Let's log in through partners because it's logging me in. And now here we've got the actual partner accounts. But I'm inspecting here and I just don't see anything, unfortunately. Oh, so actually if you hover over, I don't know if you guys can see on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, we've got our IDs, right? So 879 or 437, I think it's 437. I'm going to click on this. Oh, and here we've got our Shopify ID. Perfect. And it's not 437, so let's go back. Click on this one. Nope, it's definitely not that one. Go back. That's so weird because I did set up a store, but it's just not visible. All right, we're going to go with 2126437. Again, you get that ID by logging in through partners. And looking at the URL, I wish it was a little bit easier for this stuff, but that's okay. Let's go and create our store again. Again, why is my store not visible? It's driving me insane. Oh, it's already there. Why are you prompting me then to create a new store? I'm going to click stores. We have access to our store and now we have our ID. So let's go back into VS Code and we're going to select number 3, which has the ID that we got from our partners portal. Thanks for hanging in there with me, guys. I appreciate it. And I click J to navigate down and then we're going to press enter to select. We have now logged in to that specific theme. Now that we're here, what I want to do is I want to go and just change where it is that I am currently located. And I want to go and get into a new folder. So I'm going to make a new directory called Shopify. And then I'm going to cd into Shopify. And now we are inside of this folder. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to type in code dot. And what that's going to do is it's legitimately just going to open up a new VS Code window that just has our folder that we created. We can now exit out of the old instance and we can now work on our new instance. Cool. Now that we've got that going, what I want to do is I want to actually pull down the theme that's currently set for this store. So if we log into that store, which again, here's our ID, we can go and look at our theme like we were before. And now what I want to do is I actually want to duplicate this theme. And the reason I want to duplicate it is because I don't want to work on the live theme. I want you guys to get into the habit of always working on a copy of the live theme. Because if you guys are working on a client website, you guys are working on your own website, you really don't want to mess up whatever is currently there. You always want to do your development changes, check them, and then push it up when you're done so that there is a proper development workflow. Okay, so we just want to get into the habit of doing that, even though there's nothing there. So we're just going to duplicate our theme. So now we've got this copy of Dawn that's getting set up. And what I want to do is I want to pull this down. So let's go back to Shopify CLI and let's go and actually bring down that existing theme. So we're going to use this Shopify theme pull command, which will allow us to then select a theme. So options and path to your theme. Let's look at an example here. No examples? Okay, Shopify, I see you. We will struggle through it instead. So let's try just running Shopify theme pool and see what happens. Do I want to send an error? No. I just want to make sure that I am in fact logged in. Make sure that I have the right one selected because we are in a new window. And I'm going to try that command again. Okay, so it looks like we do need to pass in options and then a path. Unfortunately for options, it just doesn't tell me what the heck I'm supposed to do here. So I'm going to Google really quick, Shopify theme pool. And if you guys are familiar with development, you guys know that this is just the name of the game, unfortunately. Let's see what people are saying in the community. What the heck is the option supposed to be? So I think we just have to use these parameters here, which is the theme ID and then the path. So for the theme ID, I'm going to refresh here. And I think what we need to do is actually list the themes first. So that we can get that ID. List Shopify themes, Shopify CLI. I wish they wouldn't make it so complicated, guys. Shopify theme H. Let's see if we can get some help going here. Yeah, so here's what we can do. Let's do Shopify theme pool -- help. And let's see what we get here. The theme ID must be an existing theme on your store. And then, right. But how do I get my theme ID? We're going to look this up. Wow, what a roundabout way to do it, but that's okay. Let's go to our theme. Let's go to the new one that we created. We're going to go to Actions, Edit Code. And then this number right here at the very end of it is the Shopify theme ID. So again, you guys want to go to the new theme that you created. You're going to go to Actions, Edit Code, and the number at the end is your theme ID. Willow says, this is why I've been editing directly in the Shopify edit code section. I was never able to figure this part out. Willow, I feel you 100%. Every time I sit here and I have to figure it out, I ask myself, is it really worth it? Is this worth it? Shouldn't I just edit it in the theme editor? And unfortunately, the answer is if you're trying to do something quick, the theme editor, the web-based editor is perfect. But if you're actually trying to set up a proper development workflow and check your code, commit to GitHub and track changes and stuff, it's worth it to set this stuff up. You know, I just wish it would be a little bit easier. I wish the documentation would be a little bit better. Who knows? Maybe Shopify will watch this video and they'll fix their documentation and start to create a little bit more content so that people like me don't have to do it for them. But that's okay. We've got our theme ID. Now we're going to run Shopify theme pool and we're going to pray to the gods that this works. So this didn't work either. What we're going to do now is we're going to run that, but I'm going to actually specify that I want it to go to this Shopify folder. An unexpected error. Why? Okay, so now I'm going to do this exact same thing with a / because I'm on Windows and Windows is mad weird. All right, that didn't work. Now what we're going to do is we're going to print out a stack trace by copying this over. The question is, where in the world am I supposed to paste that in? It's all very confusing, my friends. So let's see what the internet tells us to do here. Please, internet gods. Dude, I have Git installed, please. So I'm going to try to add that as an option at the end and see what happens. Oh, still fails. Very well. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's super confused on how the heck to do this. It's clearly just an issue with the level of documentation that we have, unfortunately. I wish I was a Shopify Pro guy so you wouldn't have to sit through it, but unfortunately, I'm probably on the same level as you guys. I'm just trying to figure it all out, you know? I'm going to try running this again, but I want to add it as an option over here. That's weird because I didn't get this red text. Okay. I'm going to see if we have any more documentation that we can use right here. Jacob says he thinks you have to connect using the native GitHub integration in order to be able to pull. Well, you could be right, Jacob. Let's see. We go to actions. Well, that's weird. You know, I don't even see anything here for the GitHub integration. We can connect from GitHub and that lets you add themes. So I'm happy to give that a shot. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just download this theme really quickly for my local computer. They're going to email that to me in a second. Then I'm going to go to GitHub and I'm going to create a new repository. And this will be a public repository because I want you guys to be able to have access to all of this code later after this tutorial in case you guys want to steal any of the custom sections we're going to be building. So we'll just call this Shopify Sections. Create a repository. And now that this has been created, we can take this. I'm going to initialize a Git repository in this location. So I'm going to run git init. Then I'm going to run git remote add origin. I'm going to paste that URL that I grabbed from Git right here. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open my email, which unfortunately I have to do on another browser. So just give me 1 second. So now we've got this email, which has our theme export. I'm going to go ahead and just click on the download, which is going to download it to my computer. Now I can go and unzip that folder. So I've got here the zip folder. I'm going to extract everything and I'm going to change the extraction location to point over to this Shopify folder that I created. So let's go and hit browse and we're going to go to our root into our Shopify folder and we've got nothing in there but the Git folder that we initiated. So this is where I want to extract to. Hit extract. Now that that's going to be done in a second, we can actually just close this out and I can expand now this folder. Now you see this has all of our theme stuff in it. Now I'm going to run git add -a, and that's going to just add everything to the Git repository. Next, I'm going to run git commit -m to leave a message, and I'm just going to say initial commit of Dawn theme. That's going to commit everything to the repository, and now we're going to push it up to GitHub. So I'm going to run git push origin master. And now we've pushed that up to the master branch, and we can confirm by going back to GitHub. And if we reload, we'll no longer see these instructions. We'll actually just see all of the folders that we created along with the files. All right, so now that that's done, we'll go back to our store, and I'm going to click add theme, connect from GitHub. And we're going to select that new repository that we created, which was called Shopify Sections. I'm just going to type it. Shopify. You see it here, Shopify Sections. I'm going to select that. And we're going to connect the master branch. So what this does is it's now loading up a theme that we can edit through GitHub. Still doesn't make sense why I can't use the git pull command. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Jacob. I think I should have just been able to pull it and not go through this whole GitHub step. But I do understand that it's just easier to do it this way. So for the sake of time, we will continue. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this copy of the Dawn theme. We don't need it anymore if we're using this one as our theme. And now what we can do is we can actually preview this site, and you'll see that it's the Dawn theme just like it was before, but it's just got all of these placeholders or whatever. So what we're going to do really quickly is I want to show you guys what the backend code looks like. And because most of you guys probably use the editor, I'm going to show you guys just what it looks like here in the actual web browser's editor, so we can understand what the structure is of these sections and how to use them in our templates. So you'll see now that we've got all of these JSON files, which if you remember how it used to be, or you're coming off of an old theme, you're not going to have these JSON files. You're going to have these liquid files like this one. So this is what we used to have. It used to be just a bunch of HTML code, you know, potentially some CSS or JavaScript code. And it's a lot, guys. It's a lot to manage. It's a lot to look at. Now what we have is a little bit easier. So let's actually just open up, let's say the index.json, and it's a totally different format. And what we have here is an array, and specifically it's called a data hash object because everything is inside of these data hashes, right? Which are these little curly brackets or symbols. So here we can see that we have data on what sections are going to be contained inside of a template, and then what order we want the sections to be displayed in. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. You probably couldn't see too well, so I zoomed in a little bit. Hopefully that makes it... Gosh, I closed the wrong thing. Hopefully that makes it so you guys can see a little bit better here. Right? So we've got this data, which is all sections. Whoop. I'm expanding and closing the wrong things. And then we've got the order of the sections that we want them to be displayed in the template part, or in the template, right? So for our index.json, we can see here that we've got an image banner, rich text, featured products, collage, video, and multi-column. Now, I want to show you what it looks like in the front end so you can see what these sections look like when we're editing it. So I'm just going to, again, go to our themes, but this time I'm going to click on customize. And now we're going to see how this translates to this backend editor that you guys are seeing as soon as Shopify decides to load. We've got Mert. He says, hey there. Hello, Mert. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad to have you. All right. I'm going to close out some of this stuff so that I don't get distracted. Specifically, I'm going to pull these over to my other monitor just so I have them here in case I need to reference them. And we'll pin our repository so that we're just editing in here. This is another reason, I'm just going to be super blunt with you guys, why I don't like to edit using the Shopify web editor. Sometimes it decides to load super slow and it just drives me insane. I just hate waiting. All right, now we're going to go to our Shopify theme and we're going to click on Customize. And this is going to give us access to this new backend editor. Now, what I want to show you guys is how all of the sections that you see here are the exact same sections that we see here, right? So let's actually split this because I do want you guys to see what I mean. Hello? There we go. So here are the sections and the order that they're in. First is the image banner. And if you look on the left-hand side, that is in fact the first one. Next is rich text, which you see here. Next is featured products, which is featured collections. Then we've got collage, then video, then multi-column. See that? Now, if I wanted to rearrange this section, there are two ways that I could do it. I could actually go and drag it on the back end. Let's say I want the multi-column to be above the image banner for whatever reason. That's what I want. Then I can click save. What happens? Well, it's actually going to go in and it's going to change the order of this JSON file, and it's going to move this multi-column to the very top. So let's refresh and let's take a look at that change. Again, let's go collapse sections. Now you'll see that the order has changed and multi-column is on top. So the opposite is also true. If I change the order directly in the code, it will change the order in the backend editor, right? So let's move multi-column back to the bottom, being very careful not to mess up any of these commas. We need to make sure that there's always a comma separating two of these. And if you're not sure if your JSON is okay, then what I recommend you do is you copy your JSON and throw that into a JSON validator or JSON formatter. There's plenty of them that you can use for free. I recommend JSON lint, but this is also the reason why I like just setting up the local development environment, because we can do it directly through VS Code. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. But for now, we can go and let's say we're new to JSON and we're scared that we don't want to make a mistake. JSONlint.com, paste in our JSON, and then we can click validate JSON. The JSON is valid. That means that we can actually go and save it. And now that it has been saved, on the backend, multi-column should move back to the bottom. So let's refresh the backend. And now we see that multi-column is in fact on the bottom. So now you guys understand that the sections that you move in a template are being controlled by this JSON that you see right here next to my big old head, right? So that means that anytime that you want to have a template include specific sections, all you need to do is edit this JSON template. And anytime you go to the backend and you change a section, you change what's in a section, the content, the order, anything like that, it will go and automatically change this JSON template. Cool. This is really important, which is why I kind of spent a couple minutes here, because I need you guys to understand this before we start actually building stuff out. Now that you guys understand it, hopefully to some degree, let's go back to full screen mode here. And let's actually go and create our own custom section. Now, there was one section that was recommended by Willow Moon Art in the chat, and she said, or he said, I'm sorry, I don't want to gender you, but they said that they wanted to do a masonry grid with images and a product title, right? Is that right, Willow? Let me know. So I'm going to show you guys how to actually go and build this completely from scratch. The very first step, though, is to check to make sure that this section doesn't already exist somewhere. Okay, she says she is fine. and a link. Is the title of the product linked as well as the image? Like they're both just linked? I think so, right? So in order for us to check to see if there is a masonry type of thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my homepage on the backend on the customize view, and I'm going to click add section. From here, we can see all of the theme sections that we have available to us. The reason I always recommend going and checking before you go and try to create one is because sometimes it might be there and you just didn't notice. Like for example, we have here an option for collage, which is not quite what we want, but it does allow us to at least add 3 things in a masonry. What we want to do is something kind of similar to collage, but we want it to be a very long masonry grid, right? So it doesn't appear that there is really anything here that would satisfy what we needed to do. So this gives us all the reason to go in and build our own custom section. Now, let's go and look up Masonry JS, which is the script that we're going to be using in order to build this masonry grid. Yep, that's exactly what masonry is, different heights of images so that they look probably something like this. What we're going to be building is pretty much this right here, because I think that a lot of people on Shopify, especially people that sell like art or t-shirts, they're probably going to want to build something that looks like this. And unfortunately, they're going to have to go and either buy a theme that already has a masonry grid in Shopify, which means you're going to have to spend money, or you're going to have to go and buy a masonry Shopify app, and you're going to have to pay monthly for the ability to add this to your theme. I don't want you guys to pay. I want you guys to be able to either work with a developer or build this stuff out yourself so that you guys can focus on making money and not spending all of this extra money. So we're going to use this as kind of some inspiration, but we're going to be using this masonry script to do it. What I like to do is I like to just check it out on GitHub, because GitHub is going to have all the code we need, as well as a README file that usually has all of the instructions that we need to follow. So here you can see where you can download it. What I want to do is probably just link to the CDN. The CDN is the content delivery network that essentially serves up this script in a way that is more efficient and faster to load than if you were loading it from your server. You can go and download it and add it to your server. I don't like to do that kind of stuff for external scripts, because then we have to make sure that the files on our server are kept updated when they make an update to their script. Whereas if I just have this, I can literally just change the version number when a new one is available, and it will be completely updated, right? You can also just go and actually install it using a package manager if you want to use like NPM and stuff like that. I don't think we need to go through all of that trouble. So instead, we're just going to actually enqueue this script. And specifically, I want to enqueue the minified version because it's going to be substantially smaller than the expanded version. So let's go ahead and copy that in, and we're going to go now into our VS Code. So in here, I'm going to close out my terminal because we don't need it. I want to go to where all of our scripts are enqueued, excuse me. So let me refresh my memory here. I do believe it would be, excuse me, in layout and then in theme, because this is where our theme kind of lives. The way that Shopify works is it uses a templating language called Liquid. And what that does is it actually just allows you to insert specific things where it's needed. So here is kind of like our document format. And here you can see that with these curly bracelets, we're inserting things as needed, right? So here you can kind of see where we're adding styles. And here you can see where our body is. Here you can see where we add our header, where we add our content for layout. This is important because this is what is essentially being set by the template JSON file that is then pulling in all of your sections. So this is where everything that we're going to create is going to live. And this theme file is just kind of the wrapper that wraps around all of our content in order to build the Shopify website. We got someone in the chat saying, do you need to know Ruby for Liquid? No, sir, you do not need to know Ruby. You can take that from me because I went to a coding bootcamp where I paid money to learn Ruby and I don't remember any of it. So you don't need it. You only need to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Liquid if you want to be a Shopify theme developer. And if you want to be a Shopify theme developer that makes a lot of money, then you're probably going to want to learn things like React and NPM and all that good stuff. And if you guys are interested actually in becoming a Shopify theme developer, I actually got a friend of mine from Coding Phase, and he actually gave us a 20% discount code on his Shopify theme development course. So if you guys are interested in actually learning from someone who is an expert and not someone like me who's just trying to figure it all out on the internet, the link is inside of the description of the YouTube video. So feel free to use that link and get 20% off. If you do, I do get a little bit of a kickback, which goes straight into making these streams better and hopefully making it so that I can stream more often. And if you guys are not interested in, spending any money, but you still want to actually support the stream, then all you need to do is like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and click that little notification bell to make sure that you guys are alerted to the next live stream that we do. But now that that shameless plug is out of the way, let's go back into adding our new style sheet. So we've got here, or our new script rather, we've got here the minified script that we need to add. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add it where the scripts tend to go. I do believe the best place to add this script is going to be in the footer. In the header, I like to load really important styles, things like fonts, things that need to be loaded right away. But usually the scripts and stuff, you're going to find them on the bottom, which if you scroll down here, you can see that we do in fact have these scripts. Now I'm just going to add this in for now. And we're not going to wrap it in a conditional yet. Okay. The big thing here is yet. We're going to go back and make it so that it's either only loading this script on the pages that they're needed, or it's only loading this script if that section is visible. Okay, so we're going to figure that stuff out later, but for now, we're just going to add it to the very bottom here. Now, unfortunately, if you go and actually add things here, it's not going to change on your Shopify theme right away, because you're making updates here locally, right? The way that you push up to that Shopify theme is to push up to GitHub, and it will automatically build your changes into the Shopify theme that you're working on. So we're going to open our terminal again, right? Here's our terminal that we were working on. And now I can run git status, and we can see what files that we edited have changed. Now we can see that our theme.liquid, which is the file that we edited, does in fact have a new script added on it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to commit this by doing a git add, and then I'm going to run git commit -m, and I'm going to say that I've added my Masonry layout script. Then we're going to run git push origin master. That's going to push up. My current branch is behind. That's interesting. Why is this behind? We're going to run git pull origin master. Looks like something changed in the index. Oh, the index JSON file that we changed a couple times in the backend. It said, hey, you need to pull down that change first. That makes sense. I pulled it down. Now we'll run git push one more time. And now we've got that change. Perfect. So if I reload this theme now, so let's do a quick reload. And I inspect it, we should be able to find the script somewhere on this page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here, and now we can see our masonry layout script is in fact visible. Very cool. Now, what we need to do is we need to go and create the HTML that is going to be applied, or that we're going to apply this script to. Okay, so let's go and actually build out this HTML. You can actually see here that they've got some samples where you can actually, instead of using JavaScript, you can actually just do it right here and set the options with JSON, which is very cool. So let's give that a shot. And I'm going to copy this for now, and I'm going to show you now in VS Code how to create your own custom section. So let's go. We're going to close out layout. I'm going to close that out because we're done making changes there. And I'm going to expand the sections area. From here, I'm going to click new file, and I'm going to name my section. We're going to call this masonry dot liquid. Now, this is not a template, so we are not using a .json format here. We are using .liquid because that's going to allow us to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, as well as using the liquid templating language in order to build our section. It's not going to have the masonry stuff yet. We'll get to that. We're just going to be building the HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in for now, but we're going to make a couple of changes here. And specifically, we're going to go and reference the documentation for how to build sections. So let's pull this back up, right? And here you can see that we've got our theme, right? If we look at the structure or the architecture, we've got our templates folder, which houses our templates. And then we've got our sections folder that houses our sections. So there are three things that you need to worry about inside of a section. The first is the main content, which is kind of what we pasted in here. It's the HTML code that we need to build and render the section that we're creating. Next are the assets that are associated with that section. So this is any specific kind of JavaScript or any specific style sheet that we want to load just for that particular section. And what's great about this is that this will only load once for a section that gets enqueued. So if I have 10 masonry grids, I don't have to re-execute all the same JavaScript code. It will only load once along with all of the styles one time. So this is great because we have the ability to actually scope out any code that we want, pull it out of the theme and have it only load when that section is available. That helps with speed, that helps with performance and optimization. So it's really great that we have the option to do this in sections. And then finally, we have the schema options. So this controls a few different things. For example, the schema tag option lets you specify, is this a section? Is this a div? You know, what is this element? And we're going to go through all of these one by one, starting with first, how to render a section. So there are a few different ways that you can render a section. The first is with a JSON template, right? And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. You can statically render a section, which is doing it like this. This is how you used to render a section for the most part, but it's worth noting, and this is a tip that comes straight from Shopify, that if you want to render a section inside of a template, you should be using a JSON template because it provides more extensive customization options and it improves the theme editor's performance. Meaning the theme editor, this web-based editor that you guys love to use, it actually works better if you use JSON because it's not going to have to actually go and ping all these sections one by one. For whatever reason, it takes longer to do that, which means that your theme takes longer to load. So this JSON is a performance optimization, and that's why these guys are saying that anybody who uses Shopify 2.0 or uses the new Dawn theme is going to get a boost in performance, and that's because we're using JSON to render these templates instead of statically rendering these templates. Welcome, Alice. Welcome to the live stream. I'm so glad you made it. Hopefully you still learned something new here. We're still getting to all the good and juicy parts of it. So we're going to be creating our first Shopify sections, and we're going to be using this kind of boilerplate code as inspiration. Okay, so we've got the first part, which is our HTML. Next, we're going to just add a blank schema section, and we're going to start to fill that stuff out. So we've got here the HTML. Let's go ahead and type in our schema. And if you guys want to know how I did that without having to write all this stuff out, again, this is one of the benefits of using Visual Studio Code or using an IDE to write your Shopify code as opposed to writing it in the editor, is you actually have the ability to go and add these things called extensions or plugins or whatever you want to call it. And we have the ability to now add this liquid extension that gives us access not just for syntax support and auto formatting, but it also has this feature called Snippet auto completion, so that when I want to go and write a style sheet, I can actually just write style, select style sheet, click enter, and now we have our brackets where we can write code in the middle of it. I can do the same thing for JavaScript, right? I can go ahead and write JavaScript, and now we've got a basic format for our custom Shopify section, and we didn't have to do very much work at all. Next, we need to think about what specific things we're going to include in the schema. And for the most part, I think that you need two, right? The first is name. And this needs to be inside of quotation marks, but we've got name. And we're going to set that to whatever the name of our section is going to be on our backend editor. This is the human-friendly name that people are going to see when they try to select your section and add it to Shopify. So we're going to go ahead and call this Masonry Grid, right? Because that's what we want people to see it as on the backend. Next, we're going to put a comma because we're going to add another JSON object after that, or another line of JSON after that. And we're going to then pass in some settings. And this is really where the power of JSON comes in, because you can pass in all of these different attributes that you want your section to use. So we're going to create a blank array inside of this JSON object to store all of our settings information. Inside of this, we can go ahead and we can pass in a unique ID for our section. So we're going to call this Masonry Grid. That's going to be our unique ID. Next, we're going to pass in a type. So this is letting Shopify know what type of section this is. So again, I do recommend, if you guys are not sure what the heck that means, that you check out some of the documentation on sections. I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat for you guys, just so you have it as a reference. But inside of here, we can actually click on the section object and we can look at our section settings. Which unfortunately, documentation is just so lacking that I need to find the correct place. There we go. So this is going to give you a place that has all of the different schema sections that you need to worry about. So we've already done, wait, no, this is for schema, right? Yes. So we've already given it a name and we gave it an ID. Oh, so let's go into settings, which is what we're editing. Man, this documentation is just super lacking. So here we have the ability to set it as a type. But why does it not have all of the different types? I wish I had that answer for you guys. Shopify section types. It's funny that there are people with their own blogs that are outranking Shopify on it because they just have more useful information. It's ridiculous to me, but that's okay. I don't work at Shopify. There we go. All the way down here, we're able to see what are the different types that we can set. By default, they have it set to text, right? We can set it to rich text, product, page, image picker, color, or URL. I do believe what we want to be able to do is to actually select products and then have it display a masonry grid for those products. So let's try setting it to product. Next, let's go ahead and give it a label, which this is kind of like a description for what the heck this does. So this is maybe add a masonry grid is the label. Yeah, so we've got a question here. Willow says they actually just want an image instead of a product. Yeah, if you just want the type to be image, you can go ahead and set that to image_picker. And that will allow you to go ahead and just select an image for that. So we'll leave it as image picker because I want to follow along with you. But let's continue here. And then you can go and actually add a default to this. So if you wanted to just default to a specific text or a specific image, you can. I'm going to leave default out because I don't think it's necessary. And we're going to now move on. Actually, this, from what I can tell, needs to be inside of some curly braces. So I'm going to go ahead and add that because I don't know if you guys can see it, but this red is bad. It's actually my formatter. My linter is telling me that it's not accurate. So that helped me notice that I actually have an issue in the syntax here because it's supposed to be inside of these curly braces. So now that I was able to see that, I have fixed the issue. And now you can see that it looks good when we're editing it. Next, let's actually see what the heck this does and if we broke anything here. Is there a way for me to preview local Shopify changes? How do I follow you along here? Is there a GitHub repo to clone? So you can go earlier on in the live stream and you can kind of see how we got to this point. The only thing that we did, my friend, is we went and downloaded the Shopify Dawn theme. We created a blank website just to work on. If you have your own website, you don't need to do that. From here, we logged into the store that we have, and we just downloaded our theme. From there, we actually took that theme and created a GitHub repository, added it to GitHub. If you don't want to do all that jazz and you want to just edit it directly, you can just click edit code and edit your code directly here. But we are doing it with a proper development workflow for this live stream. So you can see here that I've got this theme set up to pull from this GitHub repository. Again, we have a whole live stream on that. Definitely check it out after this if you're interested. But we will have a repository that you can actually just pull from at the end of this live stream for you, okay? So moving on here, what I wanted to know really quickly, if there's a way to preview these local changes. And I could have sworn that we did this already in the live stream. So let me go into these Shopify CLI commands, because I do believe there is a way to preview really quickly. All right, we got someone in the stream that says, nice timing for this stream. Need some liquid knowledge for an upcoming interview. Man, I hope you smash that interview, bro. You got this. So we've got here Shopify CLI. I just want to look at the command references really quickly, because I believe there is a way to serve right here. So if we run Shopify theme serve, we'll be able to actually preview this stuff without actually committing it every time, because I don't want to commit everything every single time. So I'm going to run Shopify theme serve. I am not authorized, but I am a user, my good sir. So we're going to fix this issue. I don't know why it's messing me up, but that's okay. Yeah, wow. Looks like this is just a Shopify issue. Pretty insane. I'm going to try logging back into my CLI. Sometimes I feel like Shopify tests my patience. Let's log it back in. Let's select the correct one here. And let's try running Shopify theme serve one more time. Oh, it says I'm not authorized to edit themes. Make sure I am a user of that store and allowed to edit themes. Very well. Okay, we're gonna figure this out. You can't use Shopify CLI with development stores if you only have a partner staff member access. I need to be the store owner or create a staff account on the store. If I'm the store owner, I need to log into the store directly using the store URL at least once. Okay, so let's try that. Before I log in using Shopify CLI. Logging into the Shopify admin directly connects the development store with my Shopify login. Whew, okay. We out here. All right, so we've got our Shopify store. I don't understand because I am in fact logged in, but that is okay. If Papa Shopify says I have to do it, then I have to do what Papa Shopify says. So I'm just going to paste my URL /admin, and we're just going to repeat this whole login process. And hopefully the Shopify gods will be pleased with our performance and will allow us to continue our development efforts here. Oh gosh. See if this works. We've got to authenticate. So I'm going to pull this off to another screen really quick because I'm using an authenticator app to make sure my Shopify website is secured. I highly recommend, if you guys don't have multi-factor authentication set up, that you do take the time to do that on your Shopify store. Now that that's done, let's try to run it again and beg for mercy. Please log in with Shopify login. Okay, I will do what you say, sir. Shopify login, just like you said. Authenticated successfully. Select the correct organization. And now Shopify theme serve. Please, 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 please. We did it, people. It's happening. Very good. So what this is essentially going to do is it's going to set up a URL that is going to take all of our code that we're editing locally, and it's just going to push it up automatically so that we can preview it in real time. So now we don't have to go and git add and git commit and git push and then go refresh. It's going to go and do that stuff for us automatically so that we can focus on writing our code a little bit faster and focus on getting this section built. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys so far for hanging out. I'm going to use this this opportunity to thank you guys again for showing up to the live stream. I don't know what it is about the Shopify live stream, but you guys seem to really enjoy it a lot more than the WordPress and the UX and UI live streams. But if you guys are interested in learning more about any of that stuff, definitely go give me a follow and hit that notification bell, because we're going to be doing this a lot more, especially coming up in the next couple of months. So now we've successfully served up this localhost version. If we go and we actually control click on this URL, we'll be able to preview our theme. Looks like the store is password protected, so we're going to go and grab that password somewhere. We're going to go to Online Store. We're going to scroll down and we're going to click right here, see store password, Tharto. That's Thanos' brother, Tharto. Now I can go ahead and just paste that in to the store password. Cool. So now we actually have this local version of our store that we can work on so that we don't have to keep pushing up to our theme. Now, I do want to go and take a look at the customizer, which they give you a link here as well. We're going to just click on this as well. I'm going to click open. And now we're going to be able to go to the customizer and hopefully we'll be able to add our section that we just created over to a template. So we're going to do this in the back end. I'm going to scroll down. And what we're looking for is something called Masonry, right? But I don't quite see that available here. So we created a section, right? It's called masonry.liquid, but it's not available, right? Let's see if there's something that we did that's making it not available. We did all this good stuff. Yep. Did all of this. And these are adding blocks and sections. We'll worry about that later. You can tell the documentation hasn't been updated because they're still using the old editor. But we got to work with what we got, folks. So there is this templates tag that you can add to your section. And this essentially makes it available to other templates. So our template that we're trying to add this to, if we remember correctly, gosh, where'd I go? Oh, I'm on another window. Our template is actually, whoa. Hold up. My computer is very confused. There we go. Sir? Okay. So we want to add this to the home page, right? And the home page uses, I believe, the index template. So I can check that by going to inspect, searching the word index. That's weird. It's usually inside of a schema that tells us what template is being used. Yeah, content for index section. That's okay. Let's try it with index. And if not, we'll fix it when we get there. So we've got our settings here. What we're going to do is we're going to add, other than settings, we're going to add right here, templates. And the one that we want it to be available for is index. Go ahead and save that. It says invalid JSON in tag schema. Okay. And that is because there is no comma after this settings array. So we're going to save it. It's going to validate my JSON. Right? Validate, sir. I guess if it doesn't have an issue, it won't show an error. Not sure why. But let's go and refresh here. And see if it's available on our homepage now. So let's scroll down. And we still are not seeing the multi-column. That's so strange. I wonder why that is. This is, in fact, the development store. And if we go to edit code of our development store, we can actually use the built-in editor. And the reason I want to take a look at this really quickly is just to make sure my section is there. Masonry.liquid, and make sure that my template is there, which it is. Got a name, we've got some settings. What am I missing here? Got schema and schema. I mean, we can give it a tag, but I don't think that's going to do anything. Okay. We're going to figure this out though, folks. I know that this is the kind of stuff that you guys run into when you're editing your website anyways, so I'm here to figure it out for you guys. Presets, huh? I think you might be right, Moon. Yeah, let's take a look at an existing section. Look at this blog one, for example. Actually, let's look at one that's really, really easy. Look at this collage one. If we scroll down to the schema section, we can scroll down to presets. Okay, let's see what we need to add in order to get this blog going. We've got someone in the chat that says it's definitely presets. In order for a section to be added to the page via the editor, the section must contain presets within its schema. Well done, well done. Once these presets are added, the section will be available option when the merchant clicks add section. That makes sense.